Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of I have a canker sore on the very tip of my tongue, and it is making it very difficult and painful to speak right now. But I am going to have to suffer through the pain because, quite frankly, there's a real crisis right now in the Metalverse that requires not mine, but our immediate and full attention. Brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because apparently Tomb Mold doesn't dress metal enough. Oh my goodness. The horror. To my fellow Canadians out there, call your local MPs, call the mayor, call the premier. To my American buds out there, call your state and federal senators, call your local congressman, because this is unacceptable. We need to work on this immediately. This is such a big deal. Yeah, all jokes aside, this is hands down the dumbest controversy. I mean, controversy in big time quotation marks that I've ever read or heard about. But I do think that this is an interesting opportunity to talk about how important fashion is to metal, because a lot of people will have this very dismissive attitude and go, metal isn't about fashion. But if that were true, y'all wouldn't be doing this! The fact is, metalheads care so deeply about fashion, about how other metalheads present themselves, and how metal musicians present themselves as well. There is this idea that if you look a certain way, you're not metal. If your hair is too short or too long, if you're bald, if you're wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt instead of a Cannibal Corpse shirt, if you're wearing something bought from Hot Topic as opposed to something bought at a merch stand, you're a poser, you're illegitimate, you don't belong here. It is done with the intention of preserving metal, but it just makes metal look really, 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 really fucking goofy. Like, every time you freak out over a t-shirt or some kid fucking not looking like the most atypical metalhead ever, you look fucking goofy. Like, here on the Metal Meltdown, I've had people be very dismissive of my content because in one video, I'm wearing, like, a dress shirt. In another video, I'm wearing a Code Orange shirt. And therefore, I'm not metal. I can't be taken seriously. That is so fucking stupid. And, like, you'll hear metalheads whine about Hot Topic or a Metallica or an AC/DC shirt being sold at H&M. And that is also so stupid. The reality is, for a lot of kids in small towns, if there isn't a Hot Topic in the nearest mall, they aren't buying metal shit at all. Oh, well, if you really love the band, you'll show up in person to buy a t-shirt. Well, it's not always that fucking simple, jackass. Like, when I was a teenager growing up in Mississauga, if it wasn't for the local Hot Topic, I wouldn't have any metal merch. It's just that fucking simple. Because if I wanted to see a concert, I had to drive to Toronto, which I couldn't do because I couldn't drive, because I was not old enough to even have a license. I did not have the money to pay for a concert ticket because, again, I'm a fucking teenager. I did not have the money to then, on top of all of this, also then still get the t-shirt. Even now that I'm an adult, like, I work full-time. I don't always have time to go to every fucking show. If you do, congratulations. If you have the time and money to go to literally every show and buy every shirt directly from the band, congratulations. But the reality is, most people, and especially most kids, don't have that. So if you're giving a kid shit for buying a shirt at Hot Topic, you can actually go fuck yourself. Like, for real. Like, I bought Slayer and Testament and Behemoth shirts from Hot Topic. Are those bands suddenly now less metal for having shit supplied there? Am I now less metal for being a kid with no other options and being forced to buy from Hot Topic? I remember also seeing Bathory and Cannibal Corpse and Mayhem stuff sold there. Are they now less metal? Like, give me a fucking break. Fashion is so important to metal that literally every genre has its own unique sense of fashion. Like, look at thrash metal. Thrash metal is an amazing example of this. Like, the patch jackets, the ripped skinny jeans, the fucking sneakers, the brimmed hats, that is the thrash metal look. Here's a little, like, comic image here that kind of helps further explain what we're looking at. The flipped brim cap, the bandana, beard, municipal waist shirt, bullet belt, assorted stains. I am literally looking at a picture of Chris from Thrash TV and, like, formerly of J-Hoff Films. This is literally a picture of Chris. Death metal honestly isn't much different. Like, when I think, like, the standard death metal image, like the standard death metal fit. It's like a long sleeve shirt and like cargo pants and those big fucking boots. I mean, here's the Cannibal Corpse guys in like big black t-shirts and some regular black pants and shit. Alex Webster just wearing what looks like a normal black shirt. Is Alex Webster somehow less metal now? And if you really want to talk about fashion in metal, then let's talk about black metal, which has hands down one of the most unique and iconic styles of fashion in all of rock and metal culture. Like the corpse paint, the leather and studs, the jewelry, like that's black metal. Right away. Like, you look at that and you know immediately that's a black metal band. You're not looking at that image going, oh, I bet that's like a jazz band. No, you know that it's black metal because that sense of fashion is so important and so unique to black metal. It's just like, oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are variations on this. Like, when you get to, like, symphonic black metal, sometimes the designs and the fits are a little bit more elaborate. I mean, look at Dimmu Borgir here looking like some fucking Dungeons and Dragons characters or some shit. But even so, black metal has like a well-defined look, and when you stray from that look, you're not black metal. I know this because one of the biggest criticisms for Deafheaven back in the day when they were getting real popular was not only that they didn't sound like your typical black metal band, but they also didn't look like your typical black metal band. Like, these guys just dress like normal fucking guys. Like, they look like normal fucking guys that I would see on the fucking street, that I would see in a normal fucking record store. And I remember back in 2013, this was a big fucking deal. Yes, the fact that they were like a post-metal, black gaze kind of band did not help them. And yes, the fact that they had Pink on their album cover, Oh the Horror, didn't help them either. But I remember this being like a big fucking problem. Like, I remember motherfuckers telling me explicitly to avoid this band because they didn't look like your standard black metal band. The irony being that Deafheaven has never really identified as being a black metal band. They've just kind of been lumped into it because of like how they incorporate like post-black metal and black gaze sounds, but whatever, that's a whole other conversation for a whole nother ass fucking time. What I find fascinating about the acceptance of black metal fashion is that glam metal is in many ways very similar. It's just on the opposite end of the spectrum. It is more flamboyant and more feminine, and the music is also more commercially successful and popular, and therefore glam metal is bad, even though it plays by the same rules. The leather, the studs, the makeup, like, it's just as outrageous. It's just also more commercial and more feminine, and therefore now it's bad, even though it operates by visually a lot of the same rules. Like, look at Motley Crue here. This honestly is not too far off from how some first-wave black metal bands could have presented. Like, Celtic Frost wore tons of outrageous stuff like this. And you know, even going back to thrash metal, Slayer had a brief period where they had fucking makeup and shit. Hell, in this specific image here, they kind of look like a dolled-up version of fucking Venom. Not Venom, the fucking Marvel character. Jesus Christ, Google. Like, look at this pic of Venom way back in the 80s. You had some fucking, like, makeup and some bright purple and pink colors, and suddenly, this is a glam metal band. Straight the fuck up. Worth noting as well, heavy metal, just on a very basic level, has a very unique sense of style and fashion. One that originated mostly from Judas Priest. They kind of like, I made this style iconic, but they took it from like, biker and like Leather Daddy and S&M stuff in the 70s. This fashion is an amalgamation of other fashions and other cultures and ideas that Judas Priest was kind of paying attention to in the 70s. I mean, even individual bands have their own, like, sense of style. Like, I show you this picture of Ghost, and you know immediately that it's Ghost because of the image. Same thing with Slipknot. I can show you this image, I can show you this image. You know, they have different masks and different jumpsuits, but, like, I can just show you these images, and you know immediately that it's not Korn, it's not Tool, it's Slipknot. You can sit here and say you don't like the fashion, and that's fine, but if you're giving the band shit for fashion, then ultimately, metal is kind of about fashion. At the very least, it's so important that you felt the need to bring it up. Like, to this day, for instance, people still bring up that Metallica cut their hair in the fucking 90s. That's how important that is to so many people. But sure, metal isn't about fashion. Jason Newsted is wearing a sweater! They cut their hair! They don't look like normal thrashers anymore. But sure, metal isn't about fashion. It doesn't matter. Again, this is all done to kind of try to preserve metal and its integrity, but really all that this is doing is it's making metal look really goofy, and it's actively driving people away from metal. Like, the idea that someone is less or more metal based on what they wear, whether or not they have a patch jacket, whether or not they bought their shirt at the concert or Hot Topic, is so fucking stupid. And the fact that someone would even do this while saying that metal isn't about fashion is such a colossal contradiction. Again, you cannot sit here and tell me that metal is not about fashion, or that fashion is not extremely important to metal, if you're also the type of person getting mad at Tomb Mold for looking like normal people. If you're also getting mad at children for buying t-shirts at Hot Topic. If you're also crying that Metallica cut their hair. If you're also mad that, glam metal exists and it's so flamboyant, but you're fine with black metal for being the same, but darker. You are goofy. You are a hypocrite. Shut the fuck up. Go outside. Touch grass. Stop getting mad at people for just being people, for wearing t-shirts. Oh no, the horror, the audacity. Ah! If a teenage girl buys like a Nirvana shirt and a Metallica shirt, but she can't name 5 songs, and you fucking interrogate her on this, are you now more metal for embarrassing a teenage girl? For trying to humiliate a teenage girl? For having the audacity to wear a fucking t-shirt? Do you understand how fucking goofy this sounds? Once again, bottom line, if metal isn't about fashion, if fashion is not important to metal, this should not fucking bother you. End of fucking story. Go outside, touch grass, and honestly, maybe it's time to buy something that isn't, like, metal. Maybe it's time to just go buy a normal fucking t-shirt. Give it a fucking shot. It won't kill ya, I promise you. Ain't nothing wrong with having a nice dress shirt or a nice sweater in the closet. Just saying. It doesn't have to be all metal all the time. We don't have to have fucking tantrums and aneurysms because Tomb Mold had the audacity to not wear completely, totally death metal shit. It's fine. Relax. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Check us out on Redbubble. Pick up some merch, some stickers, some whatever the fuck. Check us out on social media, TikTok, Instagram. Join our Discord as well. Press the subscribe button if you have not already so you get updates on new videos immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.